Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. Now, I've posted up some videos fairly recently of doing some FPV work, albeit with other pilots in the seat, as it were, to give them FPV experience. But the last build that I published was the 3D printed glider, the Fox that I built earlier on this year, which I'm a little bit disappointed with, to be perfectly honest. But hey, that's only because the print isn't holding up as well as I thought it would. There are some splits occurring, and as a consequence I'm not really flying it that much at all. But this isn't about the 3D print model. This is about a a build that I started just over a year ago, and I've keep being pushed by a colleague in one of my clubs, Chris. So this is for you, Chris. And it's the Mystic, which I started to build, as I say, just over a year ago, and I did about maybe 8 videos on it. I'll have to check back when I post this one up on the tube about the construction. And I left it with the wings, or the wing mainly constructed, the fuselage mainly constructed, and that's where I put it down because I did other builds. But I've got back onto it this week. So let me just show you where I've got to with the build so far. So I'm just going to swing the camera around and put it on the bench. So here's the fuselage, more or less as I left it, on the face of it anyway. Main pieces in place. However, since then, I turn it upside down. Yes, I've sheeted in the underside, and I've been able to sheet that in because I've actually now installed the push rod tubes, or the snake tubes, in here. One of the things that I've been debating over was the control for the tailplane, because the design is such that it shows the tailplane obviously sitting in the back of the fuselage, as you'd expect, but a one-piece tailplane with a joiner in between going through a hole in the rudder, which, when you've got a stern post or a tail post like here, was next to impossible to do with the tailplane, putting the tailplane in and then trying to fit the elevator. So a lot of messing around on the back end, and I decided, you know what, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to put a split elevator in. I prefer it that way anyway, because I can trim them individually if there's something's not quite right. So I've inserted snakes for the two halves of the elevator to be controlled by, and I've also inserted some guide tubes because I'm having a pull for the rudder. So hence the reason why these have been brought through to the front now. The blue ones are for the elevators, and you can't see them inside there, but the guides, in fact the guides stop about here. But that allowed me, once I got those in place, to sheet in the underside of the fuselage. I've also put a servo tray in there, and another one for the throttle control. Again, I've inserted the snake for the throttle control as well. So the fiddly little bits have been done, and this will allow me now to fit my 3 servos in place here. So it's going to be, get these around the right way, and reverse the servo in the middle there. I'm going to raise the middle servo up, obviously, because where it's positioned it's a bit too close to the elevator servo, so they'll raise that up. I'll just put some ply underneath as packers and raise that up to about here on the plate, and then the pull will go through there. Having said that, I might reverse it round the other way and have the pull here and have the elevator servo around the other way. I've got enough space to do that. Now, why did I put the servos there? Mainly because I didn't, the wing cuts under here, so I didn't want to put them right at the front. I'm conscious of the fact that with the Laser 150 at the front, it may give me a bit of a nose heavy plane. So yes, arguably I could have fitted the servos in the tail, but I decided no, that's where I'm going to put them. And as a consequence of that, it means that my wing mounting plate, I've got to be a little bit careful where I put that. Obviously, I don't want to put that on top necessarily of the servos because I can't get at them easily. But it will probably be, the plate will either go sitting directly here, but in all probability, it'll be sitting directly here for the wing, the mounting plate there, which is fine. So that's most of the balsa bits done, which is good. I've got them out of the way. I've got a lot of carving to do now for the fuselage to carve it to shape. And obviously I've got to mount the fin once I've got the main carving done here. So I'll carve this to shape, put a nice curve on that, get it all done, and then I'll glue the fin in place. So that's where I am. The wings are finished. If I just get the wings, or the wing, just one piece wing. So here's the wing. Very similar to how I left it before, but what I've done now, I've filled it in some of the gaps that were present when I put in the cable runs here. I've done some more sanding on it, filled in the web strengthening here, the glass bandage there and there, so there's not so much of a ridge between it and the sheet surfaces, and that's now ready for covering along with the ailerons and flaps. So that's where I am, guys, with it. It's been a long time getting it back on the bench, but it's back on the bench, which is good. So the next one you should see from me is in all probability once I've finished carving the fuselage and getting that to shape. I said I'd come back to the Mystic when I've shaped and sanded the fuselage, and it's taken longer than I thought it would do because there are some fundamental design faults in the model and what you're supplied with as a kit, but I'll come on to that in a moment. Let's just have a look at the state of play that the model's at the moment. I'm going to swing the camera around. So as you can see, I've shaped the fuselage now to its final shape. Got some filling in place on the join lines. I've actually stuck the fin in place mainly because of the connection with the fuselage. I couldn't see how I could achieve that neatly covering this first as I would do normally, so I put it in place, and I'll have to cover it when I do the rest of the fuselage. But this rear end, in fact, isn't quite finished. As you can see here, there's still some fill here that needs to be sanded. I've just put that in just to fill some slight imperfections, but I've had to fill the tail in here, and the reason for that is the fin post, or the rudder post they provide with the kit, is actually too thin. And when you put that, and I didn't think of it, to be quite honest, I should have done. I should have looked at it in more detail. So when I pulled the fuselage sides in to join to the fin post here, or the rudder post, it came in too close. It came in too tight, which meant that I didn't have enough thickness in the rear of the fuselage here to match the fin that I had constructed based on the plans. So on reflection, what I should have done was cut that out and redone it and put a thicker post in place, rudder post in place, and everything would have been fine, but I didn't, and I covered the underside of the fuselage with the balsa, and then I realised, oh, so I've been spending ages filling and sanding and filling and sanding. It's my lightweight filler that I use all the time, so weight-wise it's not going to be too much of a penalty. It's just a pain in the neck. It really was. But it is what it is, as they say. And if I just go to the plans, and I'll show you, if I can, what I'm talking about. Yeah, so let's just move the wing over. It's this here. This piece here, 13, that's provided, isn't wide enough. So consequently, the end piece, if you follow the taper of the fuselage, the end of it is about 2/3, ends up 2/3 the thickness of the rudder, which is not good. So I should have cut that out, put a thicker one in, and then made it to match, but I didn't, hey ho. And of course, the other thing that I alluded to last time, the problem that you've got is that when you construct the fuselage, and there's the fin there, the plans show a cutout in the rudder for the elevator to go through. So the elevator is joined with a hardwood strip, as we can see here. There's the elevator halves joined with the hardwood strip there, and the idea is that you put that in place and you then attach the rudder. It doesn't work like that because the positioning of the elevator is such that the hole for the elevator joining bar is actually here. So you'd end up cutting the rudder post out to get it to fit, which is totally wrong. If you move the whole elevator back, then it's too far back. So I overcame that problem. Instead of having an elevator in one piece, as I said in my earlier video, I've cut mine now. So I'm going to have two halves and then have two servos, one controlling each half, which is advantageous, I think, anyway. Anyway, back to the fuselage. So what else did I have to do? Well, when the wings join the fuselage, I just rotate the fuselage over. Yep, there we go. The wing comes back to, the trailing edge comes back to here. So you're left with this gap between the trailing edge and the fuselage. And obviously you've got your, well, in fact, in the plan drawn one, you've got your ailerons starting here. I haven't, I've got flaps. So you have to form this infill piece. So it's an infill piece that is like a C-shaped that I formed and filled in there. And with a lot of shaping to form this nice curve here to go in. The other thing that I've done, and again I mentioned it in the previous video, with the wing plate, mounting plate here. Here it is, that sits forward of my servo location here, so I can get at my servos. This doesn't get in the way, so I've fitted that as well. So literally that is now, with my final sanding to be done here, just this little bit of filler to be done, this will then be ready for covering, as will, or as are, the wings, the tailplane, the ailerons, the flaps, the elevators, etc. It's all ready for covering. So the very next job I'm going to do is I'm going to paint this cockpit area here, because obviously I've got my dust covered cockpit canopy there. That sits on there and you can see through to the pilot, so I want to colour that in. So I'm going to use good old household emulsion and just brush that liberally in place there. And just bear with me a moment, I'll open that and you can watch me do it. So you can see it's a lovely cockpit green colour. Well, is it cockpit green? I don't know. It's green. It'll do the job here of covering up any bits of bare balsa and ply. It'll soak it up. And I don't care if it goes over onto the fuselage, because I'm going to be covering that anyway, so it's not really an issue. Once you start applying a bit of paint, it really does feel like you're getting near the last stages. It's at this point where you're doing things, your mind starts to drift, and you suddenly think, oh crikey, you know what, I haven't done this, I haven't done that, or whatever it may be. Well, as of yet I haven't thought of anything like that, but no doubt I will do. And of course what I could have done was not bother with any of this. I could have just sprayed the inside of the cockpit canopy black and completely hidden the inside of the cockpit, but we like a challenge. I've already got my pilot made, he's all ready to go. When I say made, 3D printed. He's a bit different. But you'll see that in the course of following videos. So let's just make sure I get the inside of there, otherwise that will show. Good. Excellent. That'll do. Just looking at my hair. Cool. The wind is blowing a bit today, I must admit. So hence I'm in a bit of a state. But it's lovely and sunny. Look at that. Glorious sunny evening. Although it's cold. Very chilly. It's a northeasterly blowing. Anyway, enough waffle. That's the build so far. I'll get this video attached to the other one and put it up on the tube, and the next one that should be coming up will be, I suppose, really the covering, the start of the covering. I don't really know what I'm going to cover it with yet. It will be film, covering film. It's not going to be glassed, it's not going to be brown paper, and it's not going to be laminating film. It will be covering film, because I got a load of covering film, so I'll use some of that for this. But what colours I'm going to choose, I don't know. It could be a base white with some accents, or it could be black and orange. I don't know yet. I'll have a look and see what my stash is like. I've got quite a few rolls of that, so we'll take a look. In fact, I'll tell you what, let's go and wander through to the other workshop, which is where my stash of bits is held. Just switch the light on, he says, come on. Okay, so again I'm going to swing the camera around. So this is where my balsa supplies are. Loads of models everywhere. This is a bit an additional storage space, but here are my rolls and rolls and rolls of covering film here and here, and I've got some more in another tube down there. So what colours I choose, I don't know. I know I've got loads of orange. Ooh, reddy colour, didn't even realise I had that. Okay, yeah, I got that. What's that one? I haven't got a clue what I've got here, really. To be honest, that's probably a green or a black, is it? Oh, I don't know. I'll have to have a look through these, because I just don't know what I've got. Red. And I've got whites, lots of whites here somewhere. Oh yeah, whites. I mean, meters and meters and meters of white. I've got a camo green there. Don't want to do that. Oh, there's a blue there. That's nice. Blue, what's that above it? Oh, that's a purple. Easy coat. Yuck, don't want to use that. Don't like easy coat. What's that? It's a yellow of some description. That's a good old Hobby King one. So yeah, I got plenty of covering film. But what to use, what to try, I don't know. I'll have a look at it later and decide. Swing the camera back again. So there we have it, guys. It is decision time on the covering. What I'm going to do. And when I come back with the next video, I will have decided what covering colour I'm going to use and what sort of scheme I'm going to use on the model as well. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed watching this. If you have, thumbs up, put a like down below. All goes to help, as I keep saying. And if you haven't subscribed, please do so. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. See you on the next one. Cheers.